There is a specific, sinking feeling that settles in the pit of your stomach when someone crosses a line. It might be a passive-aggressive comment wrapped in the guise of a joke, a blatant interruption that suggests your voice doesn't matter, or an unsolicited critique of your life choices delivered with a sneer of superiority. For years, social conditioning has taught us that the polite response is to smile, endure, or perhaps offer a gentle correction. We are taught to keep the peace at the expense of our own dignity. But there comes a breaking point, a moment when you realize that treating respect as an optional luxury for others to grant you is a recipe for exhaustion. If you are tired of tolerating people who treat your boundaries as suggestions rather than rules, you are standing on the precipice of a profound transformation. The solution does not lie in aggressive confrontation, shouting matches, or losing your cool. In fact, true power lies in the exact opposite direction. It is found in the mastery of your own energy, the strategic use of silence, and the unwavering understanding that your self-worth is not up for negotiation. To handle disrespect without sacrificing your character requires a shift in how you view interaction itself, moving from a defensive position to one of unshakable sovereign ground. The first step in this evolution is realizing that most disrespect is a provocation, a bait laid out to drag you into a game you never agreed to play. When someone makes a rude comment or tries to belittle you, they are rarely looking for a logical debate. They are looking for a reaction. They want to see you stammer, defend yourself, get angry, or crumble. It validates their false sense of superiority. Therefore, the most disruptive thing you can do is refuse to act your part in their script. This is where the art of the unreadable gaze becomes your most potent tool. Imagine a scenario where a relative at a family gathering makes a cutting remark about your career or appearance. The room goes quiet, waiting for the explosion or the awkward laugh. Instead, you offer them nothing but a steady, silent stare. You do not scowl, which would show anger. You do not smile, which would signal submission. You simply look at them. You let the silence stretch out, thick and heavy. In that silence, a fascinating psychological shift occurs. By refusing to rush in and fill the void with words, you turn the person's behavior back onto them like a mirror. The silence acts as a spotlight, illuminating their rudeness for everyone to see, but most importantly, forcing them to sit in the discomfort of their own making. They expect a return of serve. When you don't hit the ball back, they are left holding it, looking foolish. They will likely fumble, mumble a retraction, or look away. In that moment, without uttering a single syllable, you have communicated that you are not someone who can be easily rattled. You have established a boundary not with a shout, but with a stillness that screams self-respect. This philosophy extends beyond just eye contact. It permeates how you communicate or choose not to. We often operate under the mistaken belief that silence is passive or weak. We fear that if we don't respond to an insult, we are letting the other person win. But silence is actually a form of aggressive peace preservation. It is a filter. When someone throws negativity your way, choosing not to engage is a declaration that their opinion does not carry enough weight to warrant a withdrawal from your energy bank. Consider the joker in your life, the friend or colleague who masks insults as humor. "Can't you take a joke?" is their shield. When you respond with a defensive explanation, you validate their premise. But if you meet their joke with absolute silence, or perhaps a flat, inquisitive eyebrow raise, you strip the power from their words. You leave the insult hanging in the air, slowly suffocating for lack of oxygen. You force them to sit in the awkward reality that what they said wasn't funny, it was just mean. Silence is not an absence of an answer, it is the loudest answer possible. It says, "I value my internal peace far more than I value engaging with your chaos." It is a reclaiming of control, proving that you are the gatekeeper of your own mind. However, the battle against disrespect isn't just fought in the moments of conflict. It is fought in how you present your life to the world. One of the most common ways we unknowingly invite disrespect is by over-explaining our choices. We live in a culture that feels entitled to data. People feel they have a right to know why you left that job, why you're single, why you're moving, or why you spent your money that way. And because we crave validation, we often oblige. We offer up paragraphs of justification, PowerPoint presentations of our reasoning, hoping that if we just explain it well enough, they will approve. But here is a hard truth. Those who disrespect you do not want to understand your choices, they want to judge them. When you offer an explanation, you are handing them ammunition to pick apart your logic. You are effectively saying, "Here is my decision, please tell me if it is valid." To command respect, you must stop asking for permission to live your own life. When someone asks a prying question meant to undermine your confidence, why would you quit such a stable job? Resist the urge to justify. A simple, "because it was the right choice for me," or even a confident, "because I wanted to," is a complete sentence. It is a fortress. By refusing to elaborate, you close the door on the debate. You signal that your life choices are not up for committee review. This can be terrifying at first. We are terrified of being misunderstood. But there is a profound liberation in realizing that you don't need to be understood by everyone to be happy. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you start truly living. It shifts the dynamic from seeking approval to embodying confidence. People who respect themselves do not need to provide an index and bibliography for their life decisions. They act and they own the consequences. Surprisingly, you will find that the less you explain, the more people respect you. Mystery creates a barrier against disrespect. When you provide less surface area, there is less for them to attack. Yet even with silence and firm boundaries, there are some people who simply will not stop. They are committed to their disrespect. In these instances, the most radical act of self-respect is to curate your proximity. We often cling to toxic relationships out of a misplaced sense of loyalty, history, or guilt. We tell ourselves, "But it's family," or "We've been friends for 10 years." We treat our lives like a public park where anyone can walk in, litter, and stay as long as they like. It is time to start treating your life like a private club with a VIP list. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your existence. If someone consistently leaves you feeling drained, small, or anxious, you have every right to revoke their access. This doesn't necessarily mean a dramatic showdown or a public blocking. It can be a quiet, strategic withdrawal. It is the slow widening of the gap. You stop answering the phone immediately. You decline the coffee dates. You share less of your inner world. Distance gives you clarity. When you step back from the fog of a disrespectful relationship, you often realize how heavy the burden was. You see that the friendship was actually a parasitic drain on your emotional resources. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is a prerequisite for survival. You cannot be the best version of yourself for your work, your passions, or the people who actually love you if you are constantly hemorrhaging energy to people who treat you like a punching bag. By creating distance, you are voting for your own well-being. You are making space for people who uplift you rather than tearing you down. All of these internal shifts, the silence, the lack of explanation, the distancing, must be anchored in your physical presence. Your body language speaks before your mouth ever opens. Have you ever noticed how predators, both in the wild and in the office, target those who look unsure of themselves? They look for the slumped shoulders, the averted eyes, the nervous fidgeting. These are biological signals of submission.
To handle disrespect, you must hold your head high, literally and metaphorically. This is not about arrogance, it is about occupation. It is about occupying your own space in the world without apology. When you walk into a room, do so with the assumption that you belong there. When someone disrespects you, do not shrink physically. Do not look down. Straighten your spine. lift your chin and look them in the eye. This physical posture creates a feedback loop with your psychology. It is an invisible shield. When you carry yourself with dignity, you project a field of energy that says, "I know my worth." People who thrive on belittling others are often deeply insecure. They rely on their victims accepting the projection of inferiority. When you refuse to shrink, you disrupt their worldview. You become a difficult target. This holding your head high is the external manifestation of an internal truth, that your worth is intrinsic. It is not something that is granted to you by a boss, a partner, or a parent. It is something you possess simply by existing. When you truly internalize this, the insults of others lose their sting. You realize that their disrespect is not a commentary on your value, but a reflection of their own character flaws, their lack of emotional intelligence, or their own unresolved pain. You are merely the canvas they are trying to paint their issues on. By holding your head high, you refuse to be that canvas. Implementing these changes is not an overnight process. It requires practice. The first time you use the silent stare, your heart might race. The first time you refuse to explain a decision, you might feel a pang of guilt. The first time you distance yourself from a toxic family member, you might grieve. This is normal. You are rewriting neural pathways and social habits that have been ingrained for decades. But as you persist, you will notice a change in the atmosphere around you. You will find that you have more energy because you aren't wasting it on defense. You will find that the people who remain in your life treat you with greater regard because you have shown them how you expect to be treated. You will realize that respect isn't something you beg for, it is something you command through the quiet, unshakable certainty of who you are. So, the next time someone tries to push your boundaries, remember that you have a toolkit that doesn't require aggression. You have the power of the silent stare to unsettle their game. You have the option of silence as a complete answer. You have the freedom to stop explaining your choices. You have the right to keep your distance from toxicity. And above all, you have the duty to hold your head high. You are the only person who is with you from your first breath to your last. That relationship, the one with yourself, is the one that sets the tone for every other interaction in your life. Respect yourself enough to walk away from those who don't, and respect yourself enough to stand firm against those who try to make you feel small. You are not a secondary character in their reality. You are the protagonist of your own. Stand tall, stay silent when necessary, and watch how the world adjusts its posture to match yours.